You've been underpaid. Call my Bureau of Labor Law at 212-669-4443. All calls will be kept confidential, and we'll fight to get you the money you're owed, regardless of immigration status.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hello, I'm First Lady Shirlane McCrae. 1 in 5 New Yorkers has a mental health problem. Do you or someone you care about have trouble with stress, depression, anxiety, drugs, or alcohol? Don't struggle alone. NYC Well is here for you. It's free, confidential, and available at any hour of the day. To connect to a counselor, just text WELL to 65173. Chat online by visiting our NYC Well website or call 1-888-NYC-WELL. That's 1-888-NYC-WELL.
Hi, I'm Joe Esposito, Commissioner of New York City Emergency Management. Have you been notified? Notify NYC, the city's free emergency notification system, gives you real-time updates on emergencies in the 5 boroughs. It's the information that you need the way you want to receive it. Visit nyc.gov/notify or call 311 to register. You can also follow us on Twitter at NotifyNYC. Get notified today.
We are everywhere street homeless New Yorkers are. We are out 24/7, 365 days a year.
In every borough.
And we're committed to finding every person living on the streets.
Stability and permanent housing can be a reality.
But it can take anywhere from 1 to 200 contacts to bring someone indoors.
It's not easy, but changing lives never is.
If you see someone in need, please call 311 or use the 311 app.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. The Department of Sanitation can collect a valuable resource from your building. Food scraps and other organic waste can be collected if you separate that waste, just like you do now for paper and plastics. The collections are voluntary, so ask your building's management if they'll apply. The Department of Sanitation will provide the brown bins to your super. Sign up online at on.nyc.gov/request-organics and help make New York greener.
Hi, I'm Roy Mogolansky, Executive Director of the City of New York Office of Payroll Administration. City employees, did you know that when you sign up for the WageWorks Commuter Benefits Program, you'll save money on your commute to work by having funds set aside from your paycheck before taxes are taken out? So you'll pay less in taxes, up to $1,200 a year if you take mass transit alone, and up to $2,400 if parking is part of your commute. Visit getwageworks.com/NYC.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Darren Block, Executive Director of the Mayor's Fund. All great businesses deserve great interns. New York City's Ladders for Leaders program takes the time to recruit, prepare, and match high-achieving students with large and small organizations looking for summer help. It's a win-win for both local businesses and our city. Get help, give experience. Hire a New York City intern. Visit laddersforleaders.org today.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Letitia James. My office serves as a direct link between everyday New Yorkers and city government. Think of it as a watchdog that provides oversight of city agencies, investigates citizen complaints about city services, and makes policy recommendations. If you are in need of assistance, please call my office at 212-669-7250 or email us at gethelp@pubadvocate.nyc.gov or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Greg Bishop, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Small Business Services. Here at SBS, we open doors to opportunity for all New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. Our department is focused on creating stronger businesses, connecting New Yorkers with good jobs, and fostering thriving neighborhoods. So, if you are looking for a job, want to start or grow your business, or hope to strengthen a commercial corridor, please visit www.nyc.gov/SBS or call 311 for more information.
This is New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. Bank accounts are critical to help you save and grow your hard-earned money. But hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers don't have a basic checking account. That's why my office created Take It to the Bank, an online tool to compare low-cost accounts and find the one that best meets your needs. Our website is available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. Check it out at takeittothebank.nyc.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Donna Corrado, Commissioner of the New York City Department for the Aging. In this city, we look out for each other. We're our sisters and brothers keepers. During these cold weather months, I ask that you reach out to your elderly neighbors and friends. Remaining active, engaged, and socially connected improves one's quality of life. It also reduces the risk of chronic disease, dementia, and premature death. If you're lonely, anxious, or depressed, and you want help, call 1-888-NYC-WELL or 911 in an emergency.
This is Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. Did you know that overuse of emergency rooms in the United States wastes about $38 billion each year? If you have a life-threatening condition, go to the ER or call 911. However, if you have a minor issue such as a cut or a cold, visit a local urgent care facility, your primary care doctor, or a local health clinic. Leave the emergency room free to those who really need it. You'll be saving time and money in the process. Know the difference and avoid the wait.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Carmen P. Malalis, Commissioner and Chair of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. New York City's greatest strength is its diversity. The New York City Commission on Human Rights enforces one of the strongest human rights laws in the country and fights every day to protect all New Yorkers from discrimination and harassment. No one in New York City should feel unsafe or threatened because of their background, belief, or identity. If you feel you've experienced discrimination, please call the Commission on Human Rights at 718-722-3131.
9,000 volunteers mentor high school students in our city. But with 300,000 high schoolers, we need more mentors. Not tutors or teachers, but personal champions. People to listen, share their life experience, and help them succeed. You don't need to have all the time in the world or all the answers. You just need to care. Be a high school mentor. Visit nyc.gov/service to be a mentor in your community today.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Latrice James. This summer, New York City is looking for young people who know that they can make a difference in their community. If you or someone you know is interested in a summer opportunity with New York City, please visit the Department of Youth and Community Development at nyc.gov/DYCD. You'll find opportunities that can change your life and change your city for the better.
I'm New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. An honest day's work deserves an honest day's pay. And if you work for a contractor on a city construction or building services project, you should be getting paid the prevailing wage. If you think you've been underpaid, call my Bureau of Labor Law at 212-669-4443. All calls will be kept confidential, and we'll fight to get you the money you're owed, regardless of immigration status.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hello, I'm First Lady Shirlane McCrae. 1 in 5 New Yorkers has a mental health problem. Do you or someone you care about have trouble with stress, depression, anxiety, drugs, or alcohol? Don't struggle alone. NYC Well is here for you. It's free, confidential, and available at any hour of the day. To connect to a counselor, just text WELL to 65173. Chat online by visiting our NYC Well website or call 1-888-NYC-WELL. That's 1-888-NYC-WELL.
Hi, I'm Joe Esposito, Commissioner of New York City Emergency Management. Have you been notified? Notify NYC, the city's free emergency notification system, gives you real-time updates on emergencies in the 5 boroughs. It's the information that you need the way you want to receive it. Visit nyc.gov/notify or call 311 to register. You can also follow us on Twitter at NotifyNYC. Get notified today.
We are everywhere street homeless New Yorkers are. We are out 24/7, 365 days a year.
In every borough.
And we're committed to finding every person living on the streets.
Stability and permanent housing can be a reality.
But it can take anywhere from 1 to 200 contacts to bring someone indoors.
It's not easy, but changing lives never is.
If you see someone in need, please call 311 or use the 311 app.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. The Department of Sanitation can collect a valuable resource from your building. Food scraps and other organic waste can be collected if you separate that waste, just like you do now for paper and plastics. The collections are voluntary, so ask your building's management if they'll apply. The Department of Sanitation will provide the brown bins to your super. Sign up online at on.nyc.gov/request-organics and help make New York greener.
Hi, I'm Roy Mogolansky, Executive Director of the City of New York Office of Payroll Administration. City employees, did you know that when you sign up for the WageWorks Commuter Benefits Program, you'll save money on your commute to work by having funds set aside from your paycheck before taxes are taken out? So you'll pay less in taxes, up to $1,200 a year if you take mass transit alone, and up to $2,400 if parking is part of your commute. Visit getwageworks.com/NYC.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Darren Block, Executive Director of the Mayor's Fund. All great businesses deserve great interns. New York City's Ladders for Leaders program takes the time to recruit, prepare, and match high-achieving students with large and small organizations looking for summer help. It's a win-win for both local businesses and our city. Get help, give experience. Hire a New York City intern. Visit laddersforleaders.org today.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Latrice James. My office serves as a direct link between everyday New Yorkers and city government. Think of it as a watchdog that provides oversight of city agencies, investigates citizen complaints about city services, and makes policy recommendations. If you are in need of assistance, please call my office at 212-669-7250 or email us at gethelp@pubadvocate.nyc.gov or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Greg Bishop, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Small Business Services. Here at SBS, we open doors to opportunity for all New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. Our department is focused on creating stronger businesses, connecting New Yorkers with good jobs, and fostering thriving neighborhoods. So, if you are looking for a job, want to start or grow your business, or hope to strengthen a commercial corridor, please visit www.nyc.gov/SBS or call 311 for more information.
This is New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. Bank accounts are critical to help you save and grow your hard-earned money. But hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers don't have a basic checking account. That's why my office created Take It to the Bank, an online tool to compare low-cost accounts and find the one that best meets your needs. Our website is available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. Check it out at takeittothebank.nyc.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Donna Corrado, Commissioner of the New York City Department for the Aging. In this city, we look out for each other. We're our sisters and brothers keepers. During these cold weather months, I ask that you reach out to your elderly neighbors and friends. Remaining active, engaged, and socially connected improves one's quality of life. It also reduces the risk of chronic disease, dementia, and premature death. If you're lonely, anxious, or depressed, and you want help, call 1-888-NYC-WELL or 911 in an emergency.
This is Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. Did you know that overuse of emergency rooms in the United States wastes about $38 billion each year? If you have a life-threatening condition, go to the ER or call 911. However, if you have a minor issue such as a cut or a cold, visit a local urgent care facility, your primary care doctor, or a local health clinic. Leave the emergency room free to those who really need it. You'll be saving time and money in the process. Know the difference and avoid the wait.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Carmen P. Malalis, Commissioner and Chair of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. New York City's greatest strength is its diversity. The New York City Commission on Human Rights enforces one of the strongest human rights laws in the country and fights every day to protect all New Yorkers from discrimination and harassment. No one in New York City should feel unsafe or threatened because of their background, belief, or identity. If you feel you've experienced discrimination, please call the Commission on Human Rights at 718-722-3131.
9,000 volunteers mentor high school students in our city. But with 300,000 high schoolers, we need more mentors. Not tutors or teachers, but personal champions. People to listen, share their life experience, and help them succeed. You don't need to have all the time in the world or all the answers. You just need to care. Be a high school mentor. Visit nyc.gov/service to be a mentor in your community today.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Latrice James. This summer, New York City is looking for young people who know that they can make a difference in their community. If you or someone you know is interested in a summer opportunity with New York City, please visit the Department of Youth and Community Development at nyc.gov/DYCD. You'll find opportunities that can change your life and change your city for the better.
I'm New York City Controller Scott Stringer. An honest day's work deserves an honest day's pay. And if you work for a contractor on a city construction or building services project, you should be getting paid the prevailing wage. If you think you've been underpaid, call my Bureau of Labor Law at 212-669-4443. All calls will be kept confidential, and we'll fight to get you the money you're owed, regardless of immigration status.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hello, I'm First Lady Shirlane McCrae. 1 in 5 New Yorkers has a mental health problem. Do you or someone you care about have trouble with stress, depression, anxiety, drugs, or alcohol? Don't struggle alone. NYC Well is here for you. It's free, confidential, and available at any hour of the day. To connect to a counselor, just text WELL to 65173. Chat online by visiting our NYC Well website or call 1-888-NYC-WELL. That's 1-888-NYC-WELL.
Hi, I'm Joe Esposito, Commissioner of New York City Emergency Management. Have you been notified? Notify NYC, the city's free emergency notification system, gives you real-time updates on emergencies in the 5 boroughs. It's the information that you need the way you want to receive it. Visit nyc.gov/notify or call 311 to register. You can also follow us on Twitter at NotifyNYC. Get notified today.
We are everywhere street homeless New Yorkers are. We are out 24/7, 365 days a year.
In every borough.
And we're committed to finding every person living on the streets.
Stability and permanent housing can be a reality.
But it can take anywhere from 1 to 200 contacts to bring someone indoors.
It's not easy, but changing lives never is.
If you see someone in need, please call 311 or use the 311 app.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. The Department of Sanitation can collect a valuable resource from your building. Food scraps and other organic waste can be collected if you separate that waste, just like you do now for paper and plastics. The collections are voluntary, so ask your building's management if they'll apply. The Department of Sanitation will provide the brown bins to your super. Sign up online at on.nyc.gov/request-organics and help make New York greener.
Hi, I'm Roy Mogolansky, Executive Director of the City of New York Office of Payroll Administration. City employees, did you know that when you sign up for the WageWorks Commuter Benefits Program, you'll save money on your commute to work by having funds set aside from your paycheck before taxes are taken out? So you'll pay less in taxes, up to $1,200 a year if you take mass transit alone, and up to $2,400 if parking is part of your commute. Visit getwageworks.com/NYC.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Darren Block, Executive Director of the Mayor's Fund. All great businesses deserve great interns. New York City's Ladders for Leaders program takes the time to recruit, prepare, and match high-achieving students with large and small organizations looking for summer help. It's a win-win for both local businesses and our city. Get help, give experience. Hire a New York City intern. Visit laddersforleaders.org today.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Latrice James. My office serves as a direct link between everyday New Yorkers and city government. Think of it as a watchdog that provides oversight of city agencies, investigates citizen complaints about city services, and makes policy recommendations. If you are in need of assistance, please call my office at 212-669-7250 or email us at gethelp@pubadvocate.nyc.gov or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Greg Bishop, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Small Business Services. Here at SBS, we open doors to opportunity for all New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. Our department is focused on creating stronger businesses, connecting New Yorkers with good jobs, and fostering thriving neighborhoods. So, if you are looking for a job, want to start or grow your business, or hope to strengthen a commercial corridor, please visit www.nyc.gov/SBS or call 311 for more information.
This is New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. Bank accounts are critical to help you save and grow your hard-earned money. But hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers don't have a basic checking account. That's why my office created Take It to the Bank, an online tool to compare low-cost accounts and find the one that best meets your needs. Our website is available in English, Spanish, and Chinese. Check it out at takeittothebank.nyc.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Donna Corrado, Commissioner of the New York City Department for the Aging. In this city, we look out for each other. We're our sisters and brothers keepers. During these cold weather months, I ask that you reach out to your elderly neighbors and friends. Remaining active, engaged, and socially connected improves one's quality of life. It also reduces the risk of chronic disease, dementia, and premature death. If you're lonely, anxious, or depressed, and you want help, call 1-888-NYC-WELL or 911 in an emergency.
This is Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. Did you know that overuse of emergency rooms in the United States wastes about $38 billion each year? If you have a life-threatening condition, go to the ER or call 911. However, if you have a minor issue such as a cut or a cold, visit a local urgent care facility, your primary care doctor, or a local health clinic. Leave the emergency room free to those who really need it. You'll be saving time and money in the process. Know the difference and avoid the wait.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Carmen P. Malalis, Commissioner and Chair of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. New York City's greatest strength is its diversity. The New York City Commission on Human Rights enforces one of the strongest human rights laws in the country and fights every day to protect all New Yorkers from discrimination and harassment. No one in New York City should feel unsafe or threatened because of their background, belief, or identity. If you feel you've experienced discrimination, please call the Commission on Human Rights at 718-722-3131.
9,000 volunteers mentor high school students in our city. But with 300,000 high schoolers, we need more mentors. Not tutors or teachers, but personal champions. People to listen, share their life experience, and help them succeed. You don't need to have all the time in the world or all the answers. You just need to care. Be a high school mentor. Visit nyc.gov/service to be a mentor in your community today.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Latrice James. This summer, New York City is looking for young people who know that they can make a difference in their community. If you or someone you know is interested in a summer opportunity with New York City, please visit the Department of Youth and Community Development at nyc.gov/DYCD. You'll find opportunities that can change your life and change your city for the better.
I'm New York City Controller Scott Stringer. An honest day's work deserves an honest day's pay. And if you work for a contractor on a city construction or building services project, you should be getting paid the prevailing wage. If you think you've been underpaid, call my Bureau of Labor Law at 212-669-4443. All calls will be kept confidential, and we'll fight to get you the money you're owed, regardless of immigration status.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hello, I'm First Lady Shirlane McCrae. 1 in 5 New Yorkers has a mental health problem. Do you or someone you care about have trouble with stress, depression, anxiety, drugs, or alcohol? Don't struggle alone. NYC Well is here for you. It's free, confidential, and available at any hour of the day. To connect to a counselor, just text WELL to 65173. Chat online by visiting our NYC Well website or call 1-888-NYC-WELL. That's 1-888-NYC-WELL.
Hi, I'm Joe Esposito, Commissioner of New York City Emergency Management. Have you been notified? Notify NYC, the city's free emergency notification system, gives you real-time updates on emergencies in the 5 boroughs. It's the information that you need the way you want to receive it. Visit nyc.gov/notify or call 311 to register. You can also follow us on Twitter at NotifyNYC. Get notified today.
We are everywhere street homeless New Yorkers are. We are out 24/7, 365 days a year.
In every borough.
And we're committed to finding every person living on the streets.
Stability and permanent housing can be a reality.
But it can take anywhere from 1 to 200 contacts to bring someone indoors.
It's not easy, but changing lives never is.
If you see someone in need, please call 311 or use the 311 app.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. The Department of Sanitation can collect a valuable resource from your building. Food scraps and other organic waste can be collected if you separate that waste, just like you do now for paper and plastics. The collections are voluntary, so ask your building's management if they'll apply. The Department of Sanitation will provide the brown bins to your super. Sign up online at on.nyc.gov/request-organics and help make New York greener.
Hi, I'm Roy Mogolansky, Executive Director of the City of New York Office of Payroll Administration. City employees, did you know that when you sign up for the WageWorks Commuter Benefits Program, you'll save money on your commute to work by having funds set aside from your paycheck before taxes are taken out? So you'll pay less in taxes, up to $1,200 a year if you take mass transit alone, and up to $2,400 if parking is part of your commute. Visit getwageworks.com/NYC.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is Darren Block, Executive Director of the Mayor's Fund. All great businesses deserve great interns. New York City's Ladders for Leaders program takes the time to recruit, prepare, and match high-achieving students with large and small organizations looking for summer help. It's a win-win for both local businesses and our city. Get help, give experience. Hire a New York City intern. Visit laddersforleaders.org today.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Latrice James. My office serves as a direct link between everyday New Yorkers and city government. Think of it as a watchdog that provides oversight of city agencies, investigates citizen complaints about city services, and makes policy recommendations. If you are in need of assistance, please call my office at 212-669-7250 or email us at gethelp@pubadvocate.nyc.gov or call 311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Hi, I'm Greg Bishop, Commissioner of the New York City Department of Small Business Services. Here at SBS, we open doors to opportunity for all New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. Our department is focused on creating stronger businesses, connecting New Yorkers with good jobs, and fostering thriving neighborhoods. So, if you are looking for a job, want to start or grow your business, or hope to strengthen a commercial corridor, please visit www.nyc.gov/SBS or call 311 for more information.
This is New York City Comptroller.
Ready? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kira Simmons. I've been in social work just a little over 15 years. But being a single shepherd at PSIS 155 is by far the most rewarding experience as a social worker. I was born in the country of Panama. I will not tell you what year. And I was raised in Flatbush, Brooklyn. My parents came and they migrated to the United States to give us, their children, a better future. I come to PSIS 155 each morning to give my students a better future. I wear many different hats here. I do counseling. I visit classrooms to support our students and teachers, and I visit parents at home. Recently, I started meeting with a 6th grader. She's by far behind in math, and she was acting out in class. Through our one-on-one sessions and sometimes through groups, we identified that she was suffering from really low self-esteem, and it was impacting her focus and her ability to produce in class. We now meet regularly, we talk about what's going on, and find ways to address her anxieties. I make sure she's in class. I got her, my coworker and I were able to assign her to a wonderful community-based after-school program where she's receiving extra help with her math, and it's giving her more of that opportunity to participate in her math class because she's getting that enrichment in her after school. It's already starting to show up in her classwork as well. I'm able to call her mom every day if I need to. We engage in conversations where I can tell her if her daughter's having a bad day, and most importantly, if she's having a good day. We text back and forth, or we have phone conversations. By working together with her mom, we can really support her in school and also at home. I'm also here to cheer on my students, to support our incredible teachers, which we have many, to bring in families, and to build strong community. Now, having the leadership program, which is a CBO that will partner with us full-time, we will provide even more services for our students and families and get more of our parents involved. Thanks to the leadership of the mayor and our Chancellor, Ms. Fariña, we have a unique opportunity to roll up our sleeves and work together to make this community even that much stronger. I would like to take this opportunity right now to introduce you to Ms. Fantasia Lewis-Charles.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fantasia Lewis-Charles. I am a parent of 2-year-old Corey and 10-year-old Makai. He's a 5th grader in this school, and they are definitely the light of my life. Like most parents, all I want is success for my children. I want them to have the choices to follow their dreams. This keeps me up at night. I work hard to provide for them. My baby Makai, he loves sports, he loves music, and he also wants to be a veterinarian. He loves animals. This year, Makai, he received one-on-one tutoring with math and ELA to get extended services, and we also have Tuesday meetings where I go meet with this teacher every Tuesday, so that's like a plus in my book. I'm worried about giving him all he needs to follow his dreams. I grew up in Brownsville, and I can personally say that opportunity wasn't always knocking, you know? We need extra services and the support. I am proud to be a PS 155 parent. Principal Mans, she welcomes all families into this school, and it will become, and these added services and resources will become even more of a hub for the parents. We all just want the support of our children, but still have to pay the bills. This school believes in our children, and they believe that they can be anything that they want to be. Makai teacher, she believes that he can be a veterinarian as well as I. Today brings great news for Makai and all the other children in the school. Knowing that more resources are coming is something that will definitely help me sleep at night. I am proud to introduce Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, Fantasia, thank you so much
no problem.
for the warm introduction. And listen, I want to say to you, as your fellow parent, I appreciate your spirit.
Thank you.
And I can tell how committed you are to making sure your children succeed.
Definitely.
And I appreciate what you said, that there's more now available for our kids to help them succeed. So thank you.
Loving that.
Thank you very, very much. Now, look, I want to say at the outset, just the short time I've spent here at this school already has been very moving to me. I get to look at things through my personal experience, and I am a parent first and mayor second. And when I think as a parent, it makes me just so encouraged to see what I saw earlier, to see the impact that the Single Shepherd Initiative is making, and to hear the young women who are students here talk about their experiences, talk about what having an adult they could turn to meant for them. I know that was, I'm sure for the Chancellor, the same experience. It's so moving to hear these young people who often feel they are alone, right? It's the point in life where a lot of young people feel really troubled and misunderstood, and the confidence they had in the adults in this school that could turn to them and confide in them and have that kind of support because of the Single Shepherd program. That was very, very moving to me and really gave me a sense of hope. I was also impressed by the young women. They were articulate and they were poised, and they gave me a lot of hope for where we could be going as a city. So, I want to say at the outset a thank you to everyone involved in the school. I want to thank our dynamic principal, Michelle Mans, for her great work. I want to thank Mia Teresa Pate, I always say Pate, did I say it right? Okay. As Superintendent of District 23, thank you for your leadership and helping to make Single Shepherd a reality. And then the two Single Shepherds who I had a chance to have a dialogue with earlier. Again, this is a groundbreaking initiative here in this district and in District 7. And these are the trailblazers of something that's really going to change education in this city. I want to thank Robin Hibbler and Kira Simmons. Thank you both so much for what you are doing. We also have from PS 188, the winner of the Coalition for Community Schools Award, and we're very proud of that school for winning that award. Suani Ramos, the principal, is here. Thank you so much. And someone we depend on to do important work for all of our students in Albany. She was a superintendent here in the New York City Public Schools, now is a regent in this district, yes. Now a regent representing Brooklyn and fighting for our kids on the Board of Regents in Albany. Kathy Cashin, thank you so much. Thank you. Over there. Okay, there you go. And I also want to thank, of course, two people who played a crucial role in the development of our community schools initiative. And I know the announcement today is very important to them because it's a culmination of a lot of work they've put in, and now the community schools will be expanding because of their work. Our Deputy Mayor, Richard Buery, thank you so much. And the Executive Director of the Office of Community Schools at Department of Education, Chris Caruso, thank you. Now, as I explain the good news that we have to share today, I want to frame it this way. For every parent, there is this central question: how do I find a good school for my child? I got to tell you, Charlene and I talked about it all the time when Chiara and Dante were growing up. And I remember countless hours in front of school, and morning drop-off, and after school, and the playground, parents comparing notes, talking about what their choices were, trying to figure out what was the right thing for their child. And the sad reality in this city is that for really generations, there was a problem with that whole discussion, that parents would always go to the schools that they wanted to stay away from. Now, let's just be very real about this. I've been a part of these conversations. I know that parents, unfortunately, had come to the conclusion, based on too much evidence over the years, that some schools weren't going to serve their children well. And then there were other schools that they were focused like a laser on trying to get their child into because they sensed that that school would give them the education they deserved. When we came here, we had a very clear imperative that the days of the quote-unquote good school and the quote-unquote bad school had to end. That was a broken concept. Think about it for a moment. It was tolerated. It was a status quo that was tolerated. But it never made sense how, in a society that's supposed to value equality and is supposed to foster our children, how could you have that out in plain sight? It never made sense. So we came up with a vision of equity and excellence to try and go to the core of the situation. And there are many components to it. Some of it was we had to begin at the beginning, which is bluntly what wasn't happening. We had to start with early child education. We all know it wasn't being done the right way. Now we have pre-K for all. It's one of the things that's most essential to get everything right. And we're going to go to 3K for all next. And that's going to change the whole playing field even more. The earlier we get kids, the more we can do. And it's a great equalizer. We had to do more in the way of teacher training, professional development. That was a big missing piece of the equation. That was one of the central elements of the work we did in the first year with these two labor leaders to my left, who you'll hear from. We had to get that right if we expected to make our teachers as good as they could be, and also if we expected them to stick around. We had to deepen parent engagement, which bluntly, I was a school board member and I was a parent, and there were way too many places I went that didn't want parents to be part of their children's education. There was bluntly a kind of implicit barrier created, and the role of parents wasn't valued. We had to break through that and actually create a system for making sure that parents could reach their teachers on a regular basis and have a strategic dialogue and work together. We had to recognize that for a lot of kids and a lot of families, they were not getting the support to possibly achieve their dreams. That's why we came up with Single Shepherd. And we focused on some of the districts that had the greatest need. Because if kids and parents couldn't get support, they couldn't get answers to their concerns, they couldn't get guidance, why would we be surprised that a lot of times the children couldn't succeed? So the notion here is to systematically identify what was wrong and go at it. And the thing I've talked about before, and I'll keep talking about going forward, is getting our kids reading on grade level by the end of second grade.
Promise.
There. By the end of second grade, so that in third grade when they take the reading tests, they're on grade level. I'm not saying that because I'm concerned about the tests. I'm concerned about the kids being at that crucial milestone point that makes everything else possible in the future of their education. Let me be blunt about that. When this administration took office, less than 30% of our kids were reading on grade level at third grade. This is a pretty universally recognized standard of whether a child is going to succeed later on. Greatest city in the world, I don't doubt that statement. How did the greatest city in the world tolerate less than 30% of our kids reading on grade level by third grade? We don't tolerate it. I'm proud to say after the initial investments we've made, the great work of the Chancellor and her team, now 41% of our kids are reading on grade level by third grade, but that's just got to be a beginning. We are setting a goal of getting to 100% or as close as humanly possible in the course of the next few years. That defines some of the core concepts of equity and excellence, and they are transformative. I want to be clear. Anyone who doesn't understand it's transformative isn't looking very hard. It is transformative to focus on early childhood education when it wasn't universal before. It's transformative to actually develop our teaching core. It's transformative to provide supports and guidance that were never there before. It's certainly transformative to get our kids reading at an early point if we expect everything else to work. And if we aren't doing that, then any allegation of being transformative is, in my view, pretty weak. Anyone who claims to be transformative and doesn't get kids reading on grade level by third grade is missing the boat. So we are going to make all these pieces come together. But to do this, we have to aim even higher. We have to keep moving all the building blocks. We're very proud there's been progress on reading. We're very proud the graduation rate is now up to 72.5%, the highest it's been in the history of New York City. We're proud that college readiness is increasing. We're proud the test scores are going up. We're proud, this is very important because everyone remembers not so long ago the bad old days when we had a huge dropout rate in this city. It's now down to 9%, and we're going to keep driving it down. These are all really important indicators, but we know there's more to do, and the community schools are a crucial piece of this equation because the beauty of community schools is they reach the whole child and the whole family. And I think this is something that hasn't been understood enough, and we have to do a better job of showing how this model works. In the end, if you think about why a child gets well educated, it's because everyone is involved. Families involved, teachers, whole school community, but also other people they need help from, the guidance counselors, the medical professionals that often are the people who hold the key to a student's success, but too often we're not in the equation. One of the beautiful things about community schools is the focus on having mental health services and physical health services readily available to the students. That is a game changer unto itself. How many times, and this is something my wife has devoted her work to, how many times was a child being hindered academically because they had a mental health problem that was going unaddressed? How many tens of thousands of kids went through that experience without any help being offered? In a community school, you know from the beginning that the mental health professionals are right there available to all the kids. And that changes the trajectory for a lot of kids right away. And it helps the families to understand what's going on with the child. You know, we've had great things happen in community schools, like providing eyeglasses to every child in the school who needed them. How many kids in the history of the city struggled academically because they had a vision problem they didn't know about? And that was tolerated for a long time. Yes. Community schools were making sure that issue gets addressed. So this is a model that is a game changer unto itself. And we have had 130 community schools, which, by the way, 130 schools is bigger than all but a handful of school districts in the entire country. We already had 130 schools that had the community school designation and all that went with it. We're here today to announce some very good news. We are adding 69 more community schools to the city of New York. Wow. And that's going to be a game changer for those schools. This will bring us to a total of 215 community schools in the city of New York. And I have to tell you, already the community schools initiative has won that award, and then the individual award that was given to PS 188. That did not happen easily, and there's people all over the country in school systems that are innovating with community schools. I went with this young man out to Cincinnati, which has done tremendous work, and saw that with my own eyes. But what's happening now is New York City is starting to be the national leader because we're going farther and faster than any other school system. So the bottom line here is that we are focused on reaching more and more children with each of the initiatives I mentioned. Now, as a result of the new funding, we will have, as I said, 215 community schools across all 5 boroughs. That will reach 108,000 kids who will get this extraordinary level of support in all these different elements of their academic life and their personal life and the life of their physical and mental health. All of that will be approached in a whole new way. And we know it will change the lives of children and their families. And the goal here is simple. This is sort of the way to summarize equity and excellence. We're going to keep adding these pieces over and over again until this is a totally different school system. Because, you know, the Albert Einstein definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We are not going to do what we did in the past. We're doing something very, very different. I remember years and years ago talking to Ernie Logan, and he and I had a conversation, and I remember vividly he said, and it seemed like a really idealistic, possibly crazy idea. He said, if you really want to change the course of education in New York City, you should reach kids when they're 3 years old. And that day, it sounded like a pipe dream. But piece by piece, all of us together, we are making that transformation. And I know it's going to have a hugely positive impact on children and families all over this city. Just a few words in Spanish. Tenemos que darle a todos los niños los recursos y el apoyo que necesitan. De eso se tratan las escuelas comunitarias. Hoy anunciamos 69 escuelas comunitarias nuevas para darle a las familias acceso a servicios de salud mental y otros apoyos. With that, she's eloquent equally in English and Spanish, and I want to congratulate her because all these pieces are coming together in her watch, and they all make sense together, and that's a testament to both the vision and the leadership of our Chancellor, Carmen Fariña.
Yeah. Thank you. This is actually a very exciting day. But I'm going to just put on my teacher hat for a few minutes because I think that I just want to do a little bit of a primer of what is a community school and what it's not. If you were looking at a Venn diagram, all renewal schools are community schools, but not all community schools are renewal. So in the middle is going to be the bulk of community schools. And community schools are not after-school programs. They're not drop-in centers. They're not daycare. They are really embedded during the entire school day. So, for example, when I go visit PS 188, what do you see? You see people from the CBO in classrooms working along with teachers. When I go visit other CBOs, they have been very clearly targeted, specific students that they've been assigned based on what their expertise is. In some schools, like we saw today, they're working on social emotional issues. In other schools, they're working more on academics. In other schools, they're working on helping kids fill out applications, whether it's for middle school or high school. The other big difference is that we have put out RFPs for community-based organizations, and principals actually get to choose the organization they want to work with based on what the needs of their schools are. So at 188, for example, you have washing machines, you have dryers, you have an elective program the likes of which I've never seen, where kids are actually doing goodwill projects so that they don't feel they're being charity cases, but they themselves are helping others. They were cooking mealworms. Was I right about that? I remember. They were.
Could you explain that, Chancellor? I think you've started a controversy here.
Well, they were
Cooking mealworms.
Well, they were trying to figure out how in countries where there's not sustainable food products, what are some of the things that they have a lot of? Am I getting this right? Yeah, okay. So
Now all come together.
I want to be clear that these are game changers in certain neighborhoods. They are the difference. I went to another school where the CBOs are actually split in half. One CBO does the academics, the other one does the arts, because they're branding this school as a choice for the arts. So this is not one size fits all. It's very clearly made. The CBO partner, and I really congratulate Chris Caruso for, we keep evolving this one, sits in on the principal's cabinet. They help make decisions on how the school is headed. We are able to hold a lot more parent events. Sometimes I was in a school, last night, I think. I've been in a lot of places lately, but the school last night where she told me because of her CBO, this is a high school, she's able to keep events till 9 o'clock at night, and she's open Saturdays and Sundays. That's what a CBO and a good community school can do as a partnership with a school. And it also means that to a large degree in many of our communities, and this is certainly one of them, and I know Regent Cashin has a very special place in her heart for this district, where there are not enough sustainable community efforts in the neighborhood itself. So having this kind of relationship in the school really makes a difference, and it's a game changer. For many of our kids, their schools are their homes. And I think this kind of an extension makes a real difference. I know in this district, I just got an email from one of your single shepherds. A student has a 4-year scholarship, dream scholarship to college, who did not have everything in place, and it was the single shepherd who sat with them and made sure the work was going through. That's what a CBO does. And I want to say that another game changer in this work is the home visits. When a parent has someone knocking on their door and says, "Where was your child today? I want to see them in school tomorrow." The interest in that, it multiplies anything any of us can do alone. So it does take a village to raise a child. And I think community schools, when the community-based organization and the principal work together, is the major game changer that we're going to see in the city. So I'm thrilled that we're going up to 215 schools, way ahead of schedule. And we also have an infrastructure now under Chris Caruso at the DOE that makes sure that when there are issues, problems, concerns, we deal with it almost immediately, and we just move on. So that's my primer on community schools.
Nicely done. You should consider a career in education.
In Spanish. They want me to
do some Spanish.
Okay. Estamos anunciando hoy que en la ciudad de Nueva York vamos a tener 69 más escuelas que van a ser escuelas comunitarias. Y para los padres, esto es una cosa muy importante porque quiere decir que en las escuelas los estudiantes pueden estar hasta las 8 de la noche, a las 8:30 de la noche. Tienen asistencia de hospitales y de médicos, pero también en muchas de las escuelas van a poder usar la escuela los sábados y los domingos, que esto es un cambio enorme. Y para mí es un orgullo poder decir que en la ciudad de Nueva York vamos a poder tener esto en 215 escuelas. So that's it. And I just want to make another comment. The 188 is a 24/7 school, right? You're open 24 hours a day, basically. And that's why she is getting an award in Washington in June, because the amount of students that she has in her specific schools that are homeless or in temporary housing is one of the highest in the city. But those students are served because she doesn't ask the principal, "Oh, this is what I have." She says, "Now, what can I do more of?" So congratulations.
Now I want to introduce someone who represents this community, and I've heard her speak passionately about what it means to have the right support for our young people, and I know she's backing us up every step along the way to get that done. Assemblymember Latrice Walker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for coming out to Community School District 23 again with the efforts at equity and excellence in our school system. This is the second single shepherd program that we have been able to usher in together, and for that, I'm truly honored. I want to say thank you to Chancellor Fariña for always coming up to Albany and advocating on behalf of schools here within our city. And really, it's truly a testimony to the work that I know all too well as a student of Community School District 23. And I have the privilege and pleasure and honor to be seated here with someone who was my principal, since we're bigging up principals, my principal, Mr. Ernest Logan, and also the superintendent when I went to school here in this community, Regent Kathy Cashin, right? So this is truly a story of, you never know who's sitting in your classroom. She could grow up and be somebody one day. And with the right level of commitment and resources, and more so than that, with people who are involved, and parents and community leaders and administrators who lets a child know each and every day that their zip code does not have to dictate their educational outcomes or their educational investment, I think is valuable. So I am just glad to be able to lend my voice, and also just to let you know how proud we are also in the New York State Assembly under the leadership of Assemblyman Speaker Carl Hastie, that he has taken on the mantra of community schools to not only allow it to be something that we get the benefit of here in New York City, but that this is also the storyline across the state of New York. So we welcome this opportunity. We thank you for participating here in this day, and also thank you for your investment in our school system, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember. And now, two of our partners in so much of what we do, the president of the UFT, Michael Mulgrew.
Thank you. When I became president of UFT 8 years ago, if you would have told me that I'd be sitting one day at a press conference saying we're announcing we're going over 200 community learning schools, I would have said it was never going to happen. And I can't thank Mayor de Blasio enough, because that is really the reason why it is now happening. You know, educators walk into schools their first day in their profession, and they're bowled away by what they face. And it's a very, very difficult job. And they learn that real quick. And they know it's their responsibility to make sure that every child who walks into their classroom learns. And then they realize that it's not fair, because children bring in so many different challenges inside of every single classroom. And then they hear out in the public, when people talk about education, there's a lack of an understanding that as an educator, the first thing I have to do is get every child ready to learn. And so many of them have these challenges. And it's really not fair that that's put upon a teacher inside of a classroom, but we accept it as a reality. And we know the only way to really overcome it is to create an environment inside of a building that's going to help us overcome every challenge and obstacle that we could possibly think of that our children bring into school every day. And that is the basis of the community learning school movement. And there's different models and different things, and people debate. But in the end, it's about recognizing that every child, if we're going to make sure that every child gets that education we want, then we also have a responsibility as a society to put in place the supports and resources that will help them overcome those challenges. And it is a shared responsibility. And that's what the community learning school means to me. It really gives the possibility for every teacher to be successful with every one of their children. And that's all we ask for, because we all want the children to learn, and the teacher only wants to be able to make sure every child can move forward in a better way. But it was impossible in the past systems that we had, because there was no way for schools to overcome so many challenges. And now we are seeing in New York City, we have communities who traditionally have never been able to move forward educationally. We now have data that shows they are moving. And it is only because of this work. We accepted this as a challenge. There was no games around it. This is the reality of the situation inside of our communities. What do we need to do to help each school help every child that walks through their doors? And it wasn't about rhetoric. It wasn't about gimmicks. And it wasn't about having fights in the newspapers. It was about, let's roll up our sleeves, let's start to figure this out, and let's show everyone how you make sure truly every child receives a great education. So I can't thank the mayor enough, because if I go back 8 years ago, I would have never thought we'd be here, and I'm so proud it is New York City that is leading this way. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. And the principal of Latrice Walker, and now president of CSA, Ernie Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're right. We had this conversation many, many years ago. I think you were chair of the General Welfare Committee, and we were talking. You asked about that, and I said to you that one of the problems I had as a principal of a school in Notional, Brownsville, is that I had to go find services for students. And when I had them in middle school, they were already so far behind that I was having difficulty just dealing with the social emotional things. And I said, I wish we could grab children at 3-year-old. By the time I got them in 6th grade, I wouldn't have to work so hard, and I wouldn't still have hair today. And you listened. And one of the things that I'm so proud about today, and I've been talking about this quite a bit, is that it is indeed a game changer. But the key to make this successful is that services have to be embedded into a school. It's not something that shows up once a week and walks in the door. It's not something that's after school. It's something that's embedded and becomes part of the culture. And what we're starting to see here, because we're really focusing on this, is really getting involved in the culture of the school and the community. And I like to tell people that I go back to the old tradition that there's always a triangle in our world, especially in the African-American existence. It was school, home, and church. And so we lost a little bit of church, but we still have school and home. And so if we can embed that connection between school and home, we make a difference in children's lives every single day. So I need to commend you for this. I know there's some naysayers that think it's not doing this, it's not doing that. I've said to people that if we can get the children in school, then we can improve their academic outcomes. But we first have to get them in school, and we have to deal with all the baggage that they bring to school so that we can have them focus on getting a good education. So I need to commend you, Mr. Mayor, for this. And the Chancellor, because we've always talked about equity. And it's not about who does what against what, but how do we learn from each other to find out what's best. So thank you today.
Thank you very much, Ernie. Finally, I want us all hear from Ruben Jacobson of the Coalition of Community Schools.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everybody. My name is Ruben Jacobson, and I work at the Coalition for Community Schools. And I want to congratulate you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Chancellor, and really everybody here for this great celebration and for the award that we're recognizing you for. The Coalition is a unique alliance of organizations that are working across sectors to make sure that students and families are in schools where they can learn and where they can thrive. And community schools are a strategy that you're seeing a lot of here in New York, but they're spreading all across the country, rural communities, urban communities, blue states, and red states. We created the Awards for Excellence to recognize those places, those initiatives in schools that are really achieving the results that they set out for. And we chose New York for many, many different reasons. Especially, you've been able to move quicker than anybody else that we've seen, and that's really a testament to your leadership, but also because, from what we've seen, all the work has been done very intentionally. You're using data to target students and find out what needs they have and to make sure that the resources are getting to those students. Your leadership at the grass tops is apparent, but you're also listening to the grassroots. And when we have those two things working together, I think that's a big part of the story of why we're here today. And then finally, you're creating something, Mayor, that you talked about. You are transforming the city. And that starts when you're organizing all the resources around a school. So congratulations again. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much. And thank you. I want to thank you and all your colleagues for helping to build this movement all over the country. And it's working. Thank you very much. All right, we are going to take questions on this announcement, and then we'll open up to other topics. So first, media questions on this announcement today. Anna.
So I just was hoping that you guys could go into how you choose specific schools. I think there are only 2 on Staten Island, and now you're adding
3 more. So I'm just curious how you can decide which ones.
And let me just say at the outset on specific questions, Chancellor, Deputy Mayor, and Chris, you guys just jump in as you see fit in answering the specifics. Chris, you want to start on that one? Pass down the microphone.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So for this expansion, we're using state 21st Century Community Learning Center funds. The state allocates those funds to districts, and the Department of Education submitted proposals on behalf of the districts. So in each district, we applied for 3 schools. That was the right number that we could apply for, and that's why Staten Island was awarded 3. We got the award that we applied for in that district.
But how did you choose the specific schools in the district?
We worked with the superintendents to look at both needs and capacities to try to find where there might be gaps in expanded learning programs and social emotional supports, and also who had the capacity to implement the community school strategy.
Okay, other questions? Yeah.
So you put one quick question and then a larger question. The quick question is, the press release refers to expanded learning time. Is there going to be an hour extra of time in every one of these schools?
Yes, and extended learning time means different things in different schools. It can be embedded during the school day, but it's actual learning, extra learning time.
An hour longer.
Yes.
And the question is, you've used the approach of community schools in all the city's renewal schools, and the results are very mixed so far. Some schools seem to be doing well, some schools seem to be continuing to struggle with enrollment and academic achievement. So, in expanding this, is there anything you could point to in your experience doing this in renewal schools that suggests to you that this is successful and going to bear fruit elsewhere?
I want to first contest the premise. I think my colleagues can speak to the larger evidence that is available about what community schools do. This has been studied all over the country, and obviously we have the coalition here, so you can hear from folks in a moment about what evidence has been gathered about the effectiveness of community schools. On the question of renewal schools, I would disagree with your characterization. I think the trend is clear among the renewal schools that we've had improved attendance and improved outcomes, and this is in the toughest situations in our whole school system. These are the schools that bluntly were left for dead too often and not given the help they needed and assumed to be beyond repair, and I think that was an unfair and inappropriate assumption. As we've started to infuse support into the renewal schools as a whole, we've seen progress. I agree. If you say, are there some that we haven't seen what we wanted from? Absolutely. And have we said from the outset, some of them are not going to make it? Yep. That was the day I gave the speech. I could give you a copy of it. We said at the outset, some of these schools probably aren't going to make it, and that's understood. But if you look at the overall trend among the 94 we started with, improved performance and improved attendance has been a pretty clear reality in that group of schools. And I believe it's straightforward to say the community school model has contributed to that. And this is a tough playing field we're talking about. This is not just taking the average school in the school system. This is taking the schools that had the biggest problems and trying to move them in what is, in the scheme of things, a short period of time. So now my colleagues, anyone?
I'll jump in on this. The community learning schools it's an educational program that's not, it's not designed just for a renewal school. It was never designed for such a thing. The mayor, rightfully so, said when he looked at the renewal schools, he said, well, at very least, we should get more resources into those schools because of the need inside of those schools. But the community schools, we have community schools outside of the renewal program inside of New York City that have been doing very well. And you have research across the United States that shows that doing this program is the smarter way to do education. It's also much more effective in terms of the use of taxpayer dollars and all sorts of other different things. And it's always been a fear that when, I spoke to the mayor about this, I said, he was like, there's a need in those schools, an undeniable need for services. So he says the fastest way to get those there is to start them on a community learning school path. But community learning schools is not, it can be used in a renewal school, but it is not designed as a renewal strategy. So you cannot, trying to, and as the mayor rightfully said, the renewal schools themselves have shown, there are some that have been closed, but they are definitely showing progress.
And let me also say that it's very clear that you can look at the glass half full and half empty, or 3/4 full and maybe just 1/4 empty. And it's very clear to me that one of the things consistently that the community schools have helped us with the renewal schools is the increased attendance and the closing the gap of chronic absenteeism. And again, she's here in the audience, but I could repeat stories of every renewal school I visited. If you have students who don't come to school because they don't have clean clothes and they feel embarrassed to come to school with the same clothes day after day, having washing machines in the building is something that says, okay, we see a problem, we're going to solve it. I went to another school where the principal said to me, actually, like I said, this week, a high school, she said, Carmen, in my community, parents sometimes take their kids out of school for weeks or 2 at a time for the holidays back in their countries. She said, so what I've decided to do, and this is actually, I'll mention it because I think she deserves a shout out, Bryant High School. So I decided during the holidays to open my school on the weekends and late at night so the parents feel that they can have their kids in a safe environment. So I do think the increased attendance and the gap in the dropout rate, in many cases, the renewal schools, this has been a real shift. The other thing that we're looking at our renewal schools specifically also, how do we change the patterns of education? And to me, I think I can name you model school after model school. We're going to be coming out with our showcase schools soon, and our learning partners. And a good percentage of those schools are actually renewal schools where we've done some phenomenal work. You have Allison, 154 in the Bronx. She's raising chickens and gives you eggs. And it sounds silly, but in a part of the city where you don't have any produce, and all of a sudden parents come to meetings because they get to take vegetables home, that's a big deal. So I do think that the success, where we started from in some of these schools, and remember, we started very low, and we invested in these kids and their families so we could move faster. So I do think we're going to see a lot more success.
Let me just see if anyone else wants to weigh in on just proof around community schools.
If it's okay, I would just to take a step back to talk broadly about some of the evidence base on which the community schools model supports the model. Part of what the research shows, and it's a very common sense notion, is just the idea that you can't separate academics from all the other elements of a child's life. Their mental health, their physical health, again, the different life instances that can keep them coming to school, all those things have an impact. And so the research really shows how this model can support all those things that we know are directly connected to coming to school in the first place and then being able to learn when you get there. So just to give some examples, Charles Bash at Columbia has done a bunch of research around the connections between health and academic outcomes, right? So that when you embed health supports in the school, that helps children come to school more regularly and therefore succeed more effectively in school. Johns Hopkins has done research around the connection between community school supports and behavior and how school culture is improved. And then you have lots of folks who have looked at this on a macro level. In Tulsa, the University of Oklahoma has done research where they actually looked at, I think it was 16 or 15 schools that were part of the Community Schools Initiative, another 15 that weren't, and saw that schools in the initiative had reading scores increased by 19 points and math scores by 32 points. You've got folks like the Center for American Progress and Child Trends who have looked at research across the board and showed how, if you look at all these different elements of research, they show how these kind of supports can truly support healthier and more effective school communities. You have to implement it well, you have to implement it with intentionality. It doesn't take the place of strong principals and strong teachers. And I mean, so it's not a panacea, but the research is pretty overwhelming that these supports, as part of a broader strategy, really do have an impact. And it is common sense, like the Chancellor was just saying. If kids aren't coming to school because of health or because of housing instability, if they're not coming to school, what do you think the school can accomplish? And what the community school at its base is trying to do is to help each school, based on the particular needs of that school and its body, identify those problems individually and develop a strategy for solving those problems individually. And that's why all those schools look different, but that's why you see, on the most part, all those schools moving the ball forward.
Okay, one other point from the Chancellor, and then we'll go to more questions.
And I want to say that New York is also very privileged to be part of a state where the regents and the New York State Commissioner, Mary Ellen Leah, sees this equally important at their level as well as our level. And I think this is an important thing because we're not living on an island. We're living in a much broader context, and this is very important.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Mogul, I just wanted to clarify. You said community schools are not a renewal strategy?
It's not designed, no, you have to be very clear. You don't, it is not renewal strategies are based off the needs of the schools. When we looked at the renewal schools, there was such need. The mayor, rightfully so, said, well, to deal with the need, first and foremost, let's first make them community schools. So therefore, we can start dealing with the challenges that we know each and every one of the renewal schools was facing. There were other academic interventions and strategies put into the renewal program also. So, but community learning schools themselves is not just a renewal strategy. It's not for struggling schools. There are many community learning schools across this country that are that have been inputted into schools that have done very well and are not struggling because the community felt there was a real benefit to bringing in all sorts of services for children in their schools, even though those schools were already doing well. So I just want to be clear on that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just because it seemed like making every renewal school a community school was sort of a pillar of helping.
It's a fair question. I'm going to interpret this simply, that the community school movement was not built just for struggling schools.
Right. Correct.
But it works really well as a model to help a struggling school. Yeah.
That was clarifying, but I wanted to ask, you had announced the Warby-Parker partnership.
Yeah.
Are there any other, corporate partners across the community schools, or is that something you're still pursuing?
I'll just start and then pass to everyone. We have found the Warby-Parker plan has just been amazing, the impact it's had. And I really want to give credit to that company for getting so deeply involved in the schools. And I think it's encouraging others to think of what their version of that could be. We certainly want that. So I don't know if there's a specific example.
I'm going to kick it off, but I do want to brag on Warby-Parker for a second, because by the end of this year, we'll have distributed 20,000 pairs of eyeglasses across these community schools. And it doesn't really take much research to understand why that is impactful. It takes, but we have lots of partnerships both across the system and, again, very important, individual schools based on their community that help all those schools be effective. But you want to talk about some of the partners?
Yeah, I'll just name 4 other public-private partnerships who are investing in this work. So Guardian Insurance Company and the Diamond Family Foundation have helped to provide summer learning opportunities and career exploration for high school students across community schools. Deutsche Bank has invested and given us a grant to focus specifically on students in temporary housing to make better connections between the Department of Homeless Services system and the DOE system. And then the Wallace Foundation recently invested in some planning work to support social-emotional learning across our schools in New York City.
And I will also add that many of our hospitals have invested deeply in our clinics, in the schools in their particular neighborhoods. I know Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx has done a lot of this, Mount Sinai, and goes on and on. So I think once you open the doors of a school to the community as a whole, they will come to you and say, what can I do to help? So I think that's been very crucial.
2 quick questions. The first one is just the numbers. How much is each school getting, or does it depend on how many students? And if it depends on how many students, how much per student?
When you say each school getting, you mean?
Money.
It's $25 million.
Money. Money. Okay. Someone have the money breakdown?
It's about $350,000 per school.
And then, is there something that you've learned along the way with the first phase of these community schools that hasn't worked, that you've pivoted, that something that you've picked up on?
You can take that.
Go ahead.
One of the things that we found is that you really have to have buy-in from the leadership and from the staff. You cannot impose this. You have to take the time to get the staff to understand exactly what this is and what it is not. Because remember, schools or communities are homes, and people get a little nervous when other people start to come into their house. Let's be realistic about this. It's not always been as warm and fuzzy as it needs to be. Yeah. But when you spend the time to explain what we're doing here, that works. And that's why I've commended the mayor about this. Let's not throw this everywhere. Make sure that there's buy-in, that people want to do this. And that's why when you ask the question, why are schools selected? The most important thing is that the school leader is interested in doing this. This is not easy work. This is additional work on the school principal to make this happen. This doesn't just happen.
No, and I think also I want to add, because this is a conversation we've had before, it needs to be that no one thinks they're the boss of the other, and that it's the right partner. There are some agencies that I see in one school, same agency, that's doing great work, and then that same agency in another school, not so great. So is it the right fit? Are they on the same page? Do they hold regular meetings? And, in the old days, it was an add-on to the school day. This is not an add-on, so you have to be on the same page, and you have to have an agenda on how you're going to work with staff. So this has been constantly being modified, and actually, we have actually met with groups of principals and CBO and said, look, maybe this isn't the best fit. So yes, we're obviously always looking at that.
Okay, going down the row.
Thank you. I'm just curious, looking at the group of community schools as a whole, the ones that have been around for a year or so, is there any evidence that you can point to on either attendance or academic outcomes that suggest this is worth continuing?
Yeah.
Just some basic evidence. I believe absenteeism in those schools is down 7.2%. I'm sorry, I don't. Do you know the pre and post numbers?
Give what you have, and then you can follow up with more detail.
We can get more detailed information, but overall attendance, chronic absenteeism, I should say, declined 7.2%. So those are schools where a large number of students are missing a large number of days. That's down 7.2%. ELA test scores are up, math scores are up more modestly.
Can you give us the specifics for what you just said?
Yes, 5.7% for ELA, 1.8% for math. I'll have to give
Let's
you
get
the
all the
pre and
facts
post
out to
after.
everyone after. Thank you. Other questions? Yes, please.
Just wanted to clarify the cost. Will the state grants, the 21st century grants, does that fund the entire expansion?
Federal.
Or does the city have to?
That's federal, unless I'm missing something.
Administered through the state.
Through the state, federal through the state, yeah. Go ahead.
Does the city have to put in additional funds?
Not for this expansion. So we continue the amount of resources, and I'll say anyone can add anything to what I'm going to say, but we continued in this budget the support for the existing schools. This grant now allows us to do the expansion.
How long has this school been part of the program for? And the peer mediation group that you joined before, are those common parts of the day here?
I would just say something about the lead over to people on both those questions. I don't know about the day here. The folks from the school
Mr.
can
Mayor,
speak.
2010.
Say again?
2010, this school has been part of it.
Okay, but I wanted to say on the peer mediation, I just want to make the larger point about what it means beyond the experience the individual girls were having. I mean, this is a very big deal if what your school is trying to do is help you express your concerns in a way that's very positive and productive. Let's face it, for too many years, the reality was a kid couldn't get guidance counseling to save their life, right? I mean, if you saw a guidance counselor, it was like for minutes each year, it was no continuity, there was no deeper effort to try and help kids deal with their concerns and their needs. And this is what I saw today, it really moved me, besides just the human stories, was that it was structural. It was something that was being built into the life of these students, that they could go and have a place they could talk in addition to the personal relationships that they have with the single shepherds. That's a whole new reality we haven't seen before. But can anyone speak to how it works in this school?
Sure, I can add one thing. So this is one of the 69 new schools that will become an official community school in September. They've had some supports from community-based organizations. They've had the single shepherd program, but that's why we're announcing this here, is because it's one of the new 69 schools. It hasn't been an official community school with our, but right. The 2014-2015 school year.
Right. Did you want to add about how it works here to have the peer mediation, what it means in the life of the school?
Our students meet in groups, usually during their lunch period. So to try to avoid to keep them out of class as much as possible. We meet during our lunch periods, and we choose, peer mediation happens once to twice a week, depending on the student schedule. But we meet every lunch period with a particular grade, and that is once a day, every day for the school week.
But I want to be clear, this is something we started citywide 3 years ago, outside of community schools. Correct. To me, building self-confidence, remember my first 6 months as chancellor, I only visited middle schools because I knew middle schools was going to be crucial to our success as a city. And seventh graders are the students, I think you'll agree with me, that are most confused and most off track. So being able to build programs, whether it's restorative justice or more guidance counselors in our schools, was crucial, because building the self-confidence for them to be able to speak. All those students, if you remember today, had all of you in the room, and they were very comfortable talking. And that's what we're also trying to build up, not just about around issues, but about feeling confident as an individual that you have a voice. So how do we develop student voice in our schools is part of our overall mission, no matter what category you put it in.
Okay. See, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So it seems clear that the community schools program, the point is to give schools that serve the highest needs students extra resources. But it doesn't address the fact that lots of high needs students are clustered in the same school. Like 160 out of 440 of the city's high schools have fewer than 5 students that have passed the math exam. So I'm wondering if that underlying concentration of high needs students in New York City schools is acceptable too.
I would argue, and this gets to other conversations we've had about just the history of our city, the geography, all sorts of other things that have determined how we are shaped today. I think we can't will away the core reality. We have to address it head on. And so, yeah, there's definitely schools that have a lot of kids who have very serious needs. The problem in the past was those schools were not addressed. And the kids were left, with too much negativity. They were left with too much of a possibility of not making it. We're trying to change that entire paradigm. So I get I think I get the underlying premise of the question, just don't agree with it. Meaning, I think we cannot change the basic reality of housing in New York City. We can go at each and every school with a strategy that will work for them. And the community school strategy, again, as Michael said, it wasn't built only for schools that are struggling, but it works particularly well, in my opinion, in addressing the needs of schools that have struggled. These are things that never existed. I think what we're trying to get across today is you're talking about a world where a school was kind of left out on its own in too many ways to do the best they can, and it was kind of a triage. It was not an actual effort to address the underlying educational needs of the kids. If you were actually going to address the educational needs of the kids, regardless of whatever disadvantages they had, you would start with early childhood education, you would do teacher training, you would do community schools, you would do renewal schools, you would do all the things that we're trying to put layer upon layer into play. I think we were all sold a bill of goods in the past for generations, that there was a serious effort to create equity in our school system. There wasn't.
Right. Can I just also add that, I've heard a lot and I've listened to a lot, and most of it is a lot of rhetoric and sort of dogma that I really don't understand. I'm not an educator. But I do know that there are children who are coming into these schools with some serious issues. There are children who may have lost a family member to gun violence the night before, but is expected to take an exam, a citywide exam the next day. We know that there are kids who are hungry, and then they're expected to perform, as well as other families and other students who are across this city and across this state have access to something as simple as breakfast, have access to something as simple as dinner the night before. And a lot of what I've heard is not that it's a brand new phenomenon, but what I do appreciate about the mayor and this initiative is that we've had after school when we were kids. And we knew that this was the only place, our school system was the only place that we could go and exercise our talent. If you give a kid a camera, he's a photographer. If you give a child a dance instructor, she becomes a dancer. And we recognized that early on. And what I do appreciate also is that we talked a lot about community, but community was the baseline to all of this. When I was a kid, I had programs such as the Carter G. Woodson Center for Physical Culture. We've had the Jackie Robinson Center. And these were just folk who were in the community who recognized that our kids needed an opportunity and they needed an outlet, and how do we provide it? But now there are resources behind it. Now there's data to support it. But we know and we recognize that we can't just expect our young people to perform well in school without all of these other added resources. So, I just wanted to at least provide some level of insight that while this is a lot of school book and study book circumstances, these are real life children with real life experiences, and they're expected to perform and do the same thing as other individuals who may not ever have anything, any life experience that they've had. I mean, I even remember as a kid, walking across the street and having a Molotov cocktail bomb thrown into a store. And I was 8 years old. These are children who have to have strategies on their way home to school. How do we stay out of the line of gunfire, right? But we're still expected to get the A's and B's and the top level, I guess, 3s and 4s, and we're expected to perform. But the mentality and the level of PTSD that we're dealing with sometimes is a huge barrier. But to allow for a school to be open 24/7 or allow a school to be open on the weekend, it becomes a safe haven, and you do need to be commended for it. Whether or not it's something that you started, Ms. Mann, on your own in 2010, or something that became a part of a program that have become systematic and is funded and supported by our mayor, our governor, and also Speaker Hasty, I think should definitely be commended, and I thank you for it.
Thank you. Let me see those questions. Yeah.
Una pregunta en español. Voy a aprovechar el tiempo para hacerle 3 en una. ¿Dónde exactamente van a estar estas escuelas comunitarias, esta expansión de 69 escuelas, en qué distritos, en qué condados? ¿En qué estriba el éxito del programa de escuelas comunitarias? ¿Y cuál es la meta final? ¿Cuántas más escuelas espera la ciudad poder lograr expandirse?
Pues el dinero por ahora está viniendo del gobierno federal y por el Estado. Tuvimos que tener aplicaciones para que nos dieran las escuelas. Las 69 escuelas están por toda la ciudad. Hay 3 en cada distrito. Te vamos a poder dar la lista más tarde. Pero cada uno de ellos tiene que tener el resultado después de un año para que nosotros veamos que los chiquillos van a venir, que los padres van a también compartir en las escuelas de la manera que tienen que. Lo que va a pasar en el futuro no lo sabemos, pero vamos a mirar muy vigilante para asegurar que en las escuelas que escogimos que va a haber beneficio no solamente para los estudiantes, pero para las familias, porque estas escuelas es para la familia entera, no es solamente para los estudiantes que están en las escuelas.
¿La clave del éxito cuál es de estas escuelas comunitarias? Si fuera a resumir, ¿por qué funcionan? ¿Por qué son exitosas?
Yo creo más que nada porque es un sitio donde cualquier problema que los estudiantes tengan va a tener resolución. O sea, si un padre dice, no tengo máquinas para lavar la ropa, o dice, mis hijos necesitan espejuelos, o necesita ayuda con médicos, estas escuelas van a poder ayudar en todos los aspectos de vida.
Excellent. Thank you. Last call on questions on this topic. Going once. Go ahead.
Since the issue of concentration of high needs students just came up, and I was struck
Concentration of
high needs students in certain schools, and I was struck by your comment that we can't change the reality of housing in New York City. And I think there's been some discussion that the administration is going to release some kind of plan for how to address segregation at the end of the year. I'm curious, I mean, if you think we can't change the reality of housing in this city, can we not address segregation?
I think those are apples and oranges. I know we can't change the reality of housing in this city on the level of the previous question. In other words, could we create the perfect model for diversified schools across the school system? No, because you have whole districts in this city that are overwhelmingly of one demographic background. You would have to do massive transfer of students and families you've ever achieved. It's just not real. What you can do is a variety of things that encourage more diverse schools that will have a very major impact, and we're going to put out a plan that shows it, but by no means reverses the larger reality of the way our city is structured. You go all over this country. Unfortunately, there's a high level of segregation all over this country to this day. It's something that will be broken down over time. But I'm not in the business of lying to people. We're not going to put forward a plan that says we're going to instantly wipe away 400 years of American history and suddenly create a perfect model of diversity. But we can make a major difference in a number of schools with some smart methodologies to increase the level of diversification. One great example was on Community District 3 in the West Side, and that was through the rezoning process. And everyone who watched that knew that was fraught with controversy and concern, but I think the Community Education Council did an amazing job. They were very devoted to figuring out a way to have more diverse schools, but also high-quality schools for everyone. We supported them strongly, and that was a big step forward. We're going to be looking to do more things like that. That's helpful. It doesn't change the core reality of this city.
Yeah, but I think also when you look at that, one of the things, but you also, many years ago, complained about the amount of quality of teachers. And I can tell you right now that we have increased the number of highly effective and effective teachers in all boroughs in the city. If you look at the number of teachers in the Bronx, for example, the percentage that was to what is really quite high. The master teacher model, the model teacher, how we're moving the best educators to the highest need areas, I think is something that is part of what we're trying to do, and it actually has been very successful.
I want to talk about, first and foremost, poverty is a need indicator, but the idea that, you know, as a free lunch child myself, and almost all the students I taught in my career were free lunch, the idea that that is a need, and poverty absolutely does matter in terms of a child's education, but there are overwhelmingly those students are doing they're doing a good job and they're not failing academically. So the whole premise that we're talking about here is, because we filed a lawsuit against the previous administration when we're talking about educational need or educational challenges, it's two different issues for us. We actually, if I know some people in this room covered that lawsuit, we filed it because we saw students who were not performing well, were identified early as not being able to meet the needs, the academic challenges, and then being concentrated in schools. That is no longer happening in this city, okay? But the tackling of poverty, that's what community learning schools really is. That's why we're here today. Poverty matters. For years, we were told that was an excuse for educators. It's never been an excuse. It's a reality of the situation. But I also know that there are great students all over the city that, despite the challenges that their family are facing, are really doing well academically, and we're proud of each and every one of them.
Amen. Okay, last call. Okay, we're going to go to other topics. Mara.
Mr. Mayor, the mayor's preliminary management report in February shows that while the inmate population in the city is down, serious injuries to inmates are up 39%, assaults on staff are up 34%. How does that square with your statements this week that Commissioner Pont has done a fine job and changed the culture of the department?
Because I'll restate it, because I never tire of repetition. Look at what he inherited. He inherited a situation that was violent. He inherited a situation where there weren't proper controls in place. There weren't enough security cameras. There weren't enough efforts being made to stop weapons and contraband from coming in. There wasn't proper training of correction officers. There was punitive segregation for people as young as 16 years old. There was only less than an hour a day of education and training provided. I mean, you can go down this list for a long, long time. The reforms he made, he has fundamentally changed the nature, not just of Rikers, but of the correction system in 3 years. That doesn't mean he wouldn't say, and I wouldn't say, we're anywhere near done. There's more to do on violence for sure. There are real examples, and I think you know them, where he has implemented a new model that has greatly reduced violence in some of the facilities on Rikers. And it is, I think, a much smarter model to provide positive, productive outlets for the inmates, to staff the facilities differently, to train the officers differently, and we've seen huge decreases in violence in those areas. That model's going to keep expanding. But you're talking about a guy who inherited a mess. One thing I've said very comfortably, I know you would all assume that people in public life don't like to admit what they didn't know. I'm very comfortable admitting when I came on the job, I had not focused on correction issues a lot in my previous public work. I was beyond shocked at what I saw. It was a horrible mess that had gone unaddressed. And I tangle sometimes with news outlets, but I'll also give credit where credit is due. The New York Times did fundamentally important work in uncovering just how bad the situation was. But we also systematically followed what was dredged up in all the reporting and all of our own internal investigation, and created effectively a checklist of changes that have to happen and prosecuted them very, very vigorously. And there's a lot more behind them that have to happen. We need body scanners to keep reducing the amount of contraband weapons coming in. We need a whole host of other changes. But I am very fundamentally convinced if someone could engineer that much change, 23% reduction in number of inmates at Rikers too, and he played a big hand in that as well. If someone could do all that, I don't know how you could measure success without acknowledging all of those achievements. We definitely have more to do, though. No question. We have areas we're not satisfied in the least. We have a lot more to do. Other questions? Grace.
When Commissioner Pont testified in front of the City Council recently, under oath, he said that he was told by former officials at the department, former chief of staff, and former first deputy commissioner that they were the ones who advised him about car usage. Both of them have denied that they gave him the advice so that he could take his car out of state or drive it on personal trips. So my question is, are you going to be investigating the possibility that he lied under oath to the City Council?
Grace, I am convinced that he is a person of integrity, that he believed he was doing what was appropriate. I am so convinced that this obsession with the vehicles is missing the facts. The fact is, he fundamentally reformed Rikers Island and the correction system. That's what he came here to do. I believe a mistake was made. I believe human beings make mistakes. He will pay for every mile and every gallon of gas and any other disciplinary action that will be determined as it would be in any other case. But I'm just not going to fixate on this. I believe he's done a very good job. I believe he made a mistake, and I believe he will compensate for that mistake. Again, I'm convinced. I'm just telling you. You can ask it any number of ways you want. I'm convinced. Go ahead, Aaron.
Mayor, I know you don't run the MTA, but...
Could you say again, Aaron? I couldn't hear you. I don't run the MTA. That is correct.
But the subways...
Aaron, who runs the MTA, by the way? It is true, the state of New York. Thank you.
Because, you know, the subways have gotten to a point recently where, you know, on an almost daily basis you're having problems.
Yeah.
You know, widespread New Yorkers saying it's affecting their quality of life. So I'm just wondering, you know, have you registered New Yorkers' frustrations with the governor? And do you think it's affecting the city's economy? There was a request for a study into the impact on the economy. And, you know, what would you advise to do when dealing with this?
I don't think it is affecting the city's economy overall at this point, but I think it is a situation that has to be dealt with. I think we've got the problem of the MTA and we've got the problem of Amtrak, and they all come back to the same core reality. This country's not investing in infrastructure. And we have a division of labor. I think the state needs to step up. The MTA needs to step up with the right investments to address the situation. We're the core of the state economy. We're 43% of the population. We're the economic engine of the state. We're the revenue engine for the state government. They need to make the investments to address these problems as best they can. To be fair to the state, we all have to find a way to break through on the federal level. And you know, in the 2015 transportation bill, there actually was progress. There was actually bipartisan consensus to increase the amount of infrastructure funding, but we are nowhere near where we should be. So we'll keep working. Obviously, I have representatives on the MTA. We continue to make clear there's a need for greater investment in New York City and more structural investment. We'll keep fighting for that. But a lot of this also will play out in the coming months on what happens in the federal budget. And remember, it's not just the theoretical infrastructure plan that the president will put forward. It's also avoiding cuts to existing infrastructure in the federal budget. And some of what's in the Trump initial budget proposal undercuts infrastructure unto itself. And we have to fight to push back those cuts. Marcia.
Last week when we talked about Commissioner Pont, you explained away his lack of understanding about the use of city cars by saying, and I quote, he's not from New York City, he's not used to New York City government. He's used to other jurisdictions, each jurisdiction has a different approach. Well, it turns out that in Maine, where he served before, he wrote the policy about cars, it's his signature on it, and it says, you can't use cars for personal business, you can't use gas cards for personal business, you can't use Easy Pass. Do you regret that defense?
No, not at all. I think you guys are very, very focused on this issue. I have come to my conclusion. I'm moving on. I think the important thing is the work that is being done, period. Melissa. I'm very, you know what? Melissa, Melissa, I'm sorry, Marcia. I was pointing to Melissa while talking to Marcia. Marcia, I believe he's doing a very good job, and I'd like to see him keep doing the job, period.
I just actually have it's a tangential question. I think Marcia was just trying to get at it. I know you support him. We understand that. Do you expect him to remain, or have you had any conversations?
I'm just saying it real simple. And I'm just, guys, I'll try again. I think he's doing a fine job. I would like him to keep doing that job. He will make his own decisions. I think there are so much better things to be talking about in New York City, but that's my position. Yes.
A couple weeks ago, you said you support the idea, like, in concept of charging tourists to go to the Met.
Yep.
I was curious if you would ever consider supporting charging tourists to ride the Staten Island Ferry. An IBO report a couple of years ago found that if there was a $4 fare for tourists, it would generate a couple million in revenue.
It's an interesting idea. Look, the specific situation with the Met had to do with, it's a very expensive operation for obvious reasons. It's huge, extensive collection, and it's one of the most important institutions culturally in the city, and it's one of our biggest tourist attractions. And the expenses were growing all the time. And there was no way that the city government could cover all of that. And I think the notion there where there's a massive number of tourists who are interested in going to Met, it made a lot of sense that that was a fair proposal, so long as it was scrupulously clear that people from the 5 boroughs could continue to go for free if they wanted to. I think it's a different situation from the ferry. And I think it's a different situation from other cultural institutions. But I think it's a fair question to say, should we think about a model that applies other places? I don't think there's any place else quite like the Met, but I think it's a fair question, and it's certainly one I'll ask my team to look at. I have not thought about it before.
I mean, like, the ferry is actually, like, I think one of the top 10 tourist destinations in the city, like, along with the Met, and there's millions of tourists ride the ferry every day.
Yeah, again, I think it is, I'm always going to reserve a right if I haven't heard an idea before, that I don't have a fully formulated position. I was trying to define for you why, when I did hear the idea about the Met, which I had heard before a press conference, obviously, and had a chance to think about, I was at peace that that was a good idea. On the ferry, I think it's a perfectly fair proposal, but I think it would have to be looked at unto itself, and I think it begs, again, the obvious question, do we want to think about something for other institutions as well? Willie.
2 questions. You said that Pond will pay the city back for the gasoline and the
Correct.
tolls, et cetera. I believe the DOI report only looked at his vehicle use in 2016, and the number that is in there, approximately $1,800, refers to that. Have you instructed him to go back to the beginning of 2014?
Yes. I didn't personally instruct him. I instructed my colleagues who are working with the DOC. Yeah, absolutely. He came on board, I'm trying to remember what day, well into 14. But from the day he came on board, absolutely. As you said, tolls, mileage, gas, the city should be made whole for all of it.
And the other employees of the DOC?
Anyone who was following the wrong policy should make the city whole, yes.
The second question was, last year you said that you had stopped having contact with Jim Capolino and other lobbyists. In this atmosphere, it's absolutely sensible to have next to nothing to do with them, you said at the time. Have you resumed having contact with Mr. Capolino?
I haven't, except perhaps seeing him in passing at an event. I haven't had a conversation with Jim Capolino in quite a while, certainly not this year. There are some lobbyists I know socially, humanly, I'm still comfortable having a personal conversation, but not anything regarding their lobbying business, not anything regarding their clients who they're lobbying on behalf of.
You're going to maintain that position despite what we know from the prosecutors that the investigations are over?
Correct. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Speaker Mark Burrito said, obviously, as you know, that Commissioner Poncha stepped down or intimated that you should let him go. She said she had spoken to you over the weekend about this. Did you try to convince her not to take that position publicly? You've obviously defended him pretty strongly.
Yeah, I told her my point of view. I have a lot of respect for the Speaker, and we, share a lot of values. We don't always agree, though. I told her I thought this was the wrong way to look at the situation, given what he achieved, and how much he achieved was consistent with her values, and he was the only person who had done it. I mean, none of his predecessors made these changes. I will simply point to, and this is where I really think some fairness is called for. We have rightfully focused on the tragedy of Khalif Browder in this city, and I think it's had a big impact on people's thinking and feelings. The one person who changed the reality that would have, I think, more than anything, saved Khalif Browder's life was Joe Pont, because Joe Pont got rid of punitive segregation. The thing that was most oppressive and difficult for Khalif Browder was solitary confinement. And Joe did that against a lot of opposition. He had, obviously, the union very much opposed, and he had other voices saying it was a bad idea. And here's a guy who had a lifetime history as a correction reformer, a guy who had been a correction officer himself at the beginning of his career, saying, based on all of his experience, that we would actually make people safer, officers and inmates alike, by getting rid of punitive segregation, and that we would stop doing so much damage to people who are trying to rehabilitate. That took guts. He pulled it off. That is a fact. He is the one who did it. That is so much more important than these other issues to me. So I argued to her very simply, it wasn't a long conversation, but I argued to her that, and based on her values and what she wants to see happen there, that he really is the person who's proven he could do it. But I'm never shocked when someone has a different opinion.
The car use aside, the 90 days of the year out of town, did you have a sense that he was out of town that much? And do you have a sense of, you have other commissioners that are out of town so frequently? Again,
we have to understand each other in this conversation. You guys are I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong, I'm saying you guys are really, really focused on car usage and how many days someone's out of town, and I'm really, really focused on what they produce. I don't know the specific schedule of each of my dozens of commissioners. I think Joe had a particular set of circumstances, including family out of town that he was very close to, and it was very important to him to spend time with. That time was essentially weekend and vacation time. I think commissioners can do as they see fit with weekend and vacation time. The question is, what do you produce? If someone was at their desk 365 days a year, never used the company car for anything, but didn't produce, didn't make the lives of New Yorkers better, I think you would agree with me that we would not say, that's fine. At least he was at his desk 365 days a year. I'm making a very simple point. I have one standard. Do you produce? Do you produce? And this guy made extraordinary progress, and that's why I'm comfortable. I don't have enough of a vantage point to tell you how many days each commissioner takes in vacation and things like that. I mean, yes, please. Coming over there.
Reaction to people cutting down trees on Trump's golf course in the Bronx, or police looking for people with the chainsaws. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. Obviously, look, I encourage people who differ with President Trump to make their voices heard, but through peaceful protest and through political action, not through cutting down trees. I don't think it achieves anything, and obviously it's not legal. Yes.
Mayor, I have two questions on the subject of education. The first one on the Brian Lair show this morning. You discussed how confusing the process of applying to middle schools and high schools still can be, and you said you want to make that clear. Can you elaborate on how that?
Yeah, first of all, I also said, having gone through it with both Chiara and Dante, that it is better than it used to be. It's simpler. There's more information provided to parents that's helpful and I think clearer information. But it still has to get better. So what I have instructed the Department of Education to do is keep coming up with parent-friendly information that describes the way the process really works. I think, I mentioned this morning, I'll say again, I've talked to parents who are like, I really want to get my child into school X, so I only put that school. That's a real mistake from my point of view. As a parent who went through this process myself and put down a whole lot of schools on that application for my children, because I thought that application was really serious about how you needed to approach it if you wanted to succeed for your child. I don't think we're doing a good enough job explaining that to parents. I think parents end up trying to figure out their own approaches and sort of listening to advice from other parents without getting the whole picture. I've instructed the Department of Education to do a lot more to put it into real human terms, how this works and why it's important to sort of follow the plan the way it's laid out. And I think we can do still a better job of just simplifying the approach. So we'll be working on that. Did you have a second?
About Central Park East 1 and how you're planning to address parents' concerns about the principal and its regard.
Yeah, I'll say at the outset that is a situation that there's different voices in that school, amongst parents, amongst teachers. We have to be above the fray in the sense of just in any other situation, any agency, anything we do that involves the public, I'm not shocked there's strong views on two sides of something. Ultimately, the Chancellor has to decide, and I'll certainly work with her on this, what we think is the right way forward that addresses what we see. That school, as best I understand it, again, a very noble tradition, very progressive vision for that school, but the things that have to be addressed going forward are an inclusive admissions approach and continuing to improve educational quality while still respecting the very positive traditions. We have to make sense of what that means. But I want to be really clear. The parents have raised their voices. That certainly everyone's paying attention to that. But that doesn't mean that, you know, the loudest group of parents has necessarily got a monopoly on the truth. We have to look at all sides of the equation. Who else? Yeah.
Just wanted to follow up on Mara's question. You know, in your defense of Commissioner Pont, you haven't just mentioned the reforms he's implemented, but you've also pointed specifically to reduce violence. And I'm wondering, given the fact that the rate of assaults, both inmate on inmate and inmate on staff, have increased from the rate of assaults has increased from fiscal 13 through fiscal 17. On what basis are you saying that the jails are safe?
I'll make you a deal. And I'm going to ask Eric to do this today for everyone's edification. Look, there are some things on Rikers that are factually true that we're not happy with. There are some categories of violence and other problems that have gone in the wrong direction. I'm very comfortable saying that. Not happy with it. We're not going to accept it. And we have a lot of efforts in place to turn that around. There's others that have gone in the right direction. And specifically, as I said, facilities that are being run on an entirely different model that have proven to have extraordinary success at reducing violence. And that's the model we're going to move towards for the whole of Rikers Island. So I need to frame it to you this way. If you inherit a situation that's broken and violent and totally dysfunctional, you can't flip a switch on that. We knew we had to go to the core set of problems. We had to get rid of punitive segregation. We had to start providing inmates with education and training and positive things to do with their day. We had to start a new model for how to control violence, particularly among the most violent prisoners, and create new units that are based on an entirely different philosophy. We had to recruit and screen and train the officers in an entirely different fashion. We had to stem the flow of contraband and weapons that were underlying a lot of the violence. And I think it's fair to say, I could give you any number of statistics that prove progress in those areas, and then there's others that clearly we have not succeeded. But it is a mix, but what comes through the mix is where we have instituted the reforms are working, we intend to deepen that process. We intend to institute those reforms more deeply across the entire facility. Eric will today put online the key indicators that we think show where there has been progress on violence and disorder. Those are facts. Some of the other ones are facts too. All I ask is that people look at the whole picture. Two more. Go ahead.
You said I have one standard you produce, referring to Commissioner Pont and your other staff. I just wonder, would you apply that same standard to other city workers? As you know, other city workers have been penalized for similar behavior. Do you think, someone is doing their job well as a sanitation worker or a firefighter or something else, that they should not be punished or terminated for?
I've said this before, I'll say it again. In everything in life, the question of intent is really, really important. And we have people who have been penalized because they purposefully, knowingly went out and tried to defraud the government and the taxpayer. That's a different matter. When we have a situation where someone is trying to game the system on purpose, that leads to a different set of sanctions. Maybe you guys feel you never make mistakes. In our world, people make mistakes, and we recognize the difference between an honest mistake versus something that was a systematic effort to break the rules or break the law. So that has to be taken into account. When I say my standard is whether you produce, obviously that is assuming no one meant to do anything inappropriate. Then the question I think the vast majority of New Yorkers are concerned about is, did that person get the job done for them by any normal standard of comparison? Compare him to his predecessors? I think you would do well to look at that question. How does he stack up against his predecessors? His predecessors did not address the issues that I just delineated a moment ago. Rich.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, just to follow up again on the pond situation, of course. Do you find it remarkable, Marcia mentioned it, that apparently the rules in Maine, which prohibited the use of the vehicle outside the state, the gasoline and the Easy Pass, were published over his name, and then he indicated that he didn't understand?
Guys, I mean, again, we just part company. I don't think this is anywhere near the issue you think it is, and I therefore can't get as worked up as you are about it. I think there are so many more important things to be talking about in this city. I believe fundamentally, when he got here, he got information that he thought was accurate and was different from what he was used to before. I'm sorry, it just comes down to whether you believe someone attempted to do something wrong or accidentally did something wrong. Said it 100 times. I think he accidentally did something wrong. Guess what? He's going to have to pay back every dime. And if there's any further penalties for him or anyone else, those are appropriate, and we'll move on. Thanks, guys.